statement and pleaded with the kidnappers to release the victim unconditionally.
No, they should release him unconditionally. It's no business. They should look for something to do and not kidnapping.
Meanwhile, efforts to hear from the Abia State Police Command on this incident proved abortive, as the spokesperson of the command, Geoffrey Obonna, said the crime was committed outside its jurisdiction. In Umuahia, Kingsley Ononiwu, NTA News.
With the rising threats to security of lives and property occasioned by activities of cultists, chieftaincy tussle and illegal influx of strange faces in Ondo State, Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu has directed security agencies to immediately arrest and prosecute anyone found with illegal weapon within the state. In a statewide broadcast, the governor also instructed security agencies to clamp down on all cultists and deal decisively with persons found engaging in cult-related activities. Abiola Rio reports.
Another issue of concern raised by the governor is the abuse of the social media, which is stressed can bring disunity and security breaches.
Before we must accept to post or repost any news item or information on social media, we must evaluate and process and discern the motives behind it and learn to distinguish between false content and real information.
In furtherance of Oluwarotimi Akeredolu's administration's efforts to address security matters in the state, more measures have been put in place.
All traditional rulers in the state should henceforth revert to the government before allowing any group to settle in their domains. Any departure from this will be sanctioned. The state government will not hesitate to impose 24-hour curfew on any community where there are crises, and any culpable traditional ruler shall be sanctioned.
Governor Akeredolu said the issue of security is a collective business which should not be left in the hands of government alone. In Akure, Abiola Rio, NTA News.
Troops of 3 Brigade Nigerian Army have arrested 13 suspected Boko Haram terrorists around Filin Lazio, Huturu axis of Kano State. A statement by the Director Army Public Relations, Brigadier General Muhammad Yerima, says the ongoing operations is focused at apprehending criminals hibernating parts of Kano State. The public, especially residents of Filin Lazio, Huturu, are enjoined to go about their lawful businesses as security forces are on top of the situation. Brigadier General Yerima appealed to the peace-loving people of Kano State to maintain high level of vigilance and continue to report suspected movement of strange individuals or groups in their environment to the relevant security agencies for prompt action. Troops of Operation Sare Mutane operating in Zamfara and adjoining states in the northwest have rescued 18 kidnapped victims and eliminated 48 bandits. A statement by the Director Army Public Relations Brigadier General Muhammad Yerima says the operation also cleared bandits camps in Gabia, Bozaya, and Merire in Maru local government area of Zamfara State, while several top bandits leaders were either killed or escaped with bullet wounds. 6,282 rounds of different ammunitions, 8 AK-47 magazine, and a motorcycle were among items recovered from the criminals. If you just joined us, this is the news at 10 on NTA News 24. We'll pause here for a break. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us on the news at 10 on NTA News 24. The federal government is urging small and medium-scale mining operators in the country to take advantage of the 5 billion naira single-digit loan facility at the Bank of Industry to boost their businesses. Addressing stakeholders in the mining sector in Akwa Ibom State, Minister of State for Mines and Steel Development, Uchechukwu Oga, said the federal government is passionate about developing the sector in view of its critical role in the economy.
This is the first mining stakeholders meeting with a sitting minister in recent times in Akwa Ibom State. At the front burner during the meeting are issues of double taxation, activities of illegal miners, and accessibility to the 5 billion naira loan facility provided by government.
When I went to the BOI, as he mentioned, they told me I need to bring a collateral of about, I think, between 150 million to 200. Is that possible for a small, medium-scale miner?
You have, in some cases, 3 or 4 different government institutions coming to you on revenue drive, and you have no choice.
Let them try and move everybody along so that when it's our time, we will learn from them. Let them tell us what they want us to do.
The Minister of State for Mines and Steel Development, Uchechukwu Oga, cleared the air on some of the issues raised, particularly accessibility to the loan.
Oftentimes when people borrow money from government institutions, they will think it's something for sharing. That is a grant, so they won't want to return it back. But once it is paid, other people can have opportunity to borrow from them.
Akwa Ibom State government is discussing don't mind. Akwa Ibom State government is saying we must know you.
The minister had earlier inspected facilities at the Aluminum Smelting Company of Nigeria, ASCON, in Ikodabasi, where he assured of government commitment to the full commencement of operation of the company through gas infrastructure development. In Uyo, Clement Barkui, NTA News.
No fewer than 105 trainees under the National Industrial Skills Development Program by the Industrial Training Fund ITF in Ogun State have completed their training and presented with starter packs to keep them going. Industrial Trust Fund ITF says the program will soon be extended to the physically challenged and women in the state. Yemi Dalemo reports.
Beneficiaries drawn from the 20 local government areas of Ogun State were trained through the 2020 National Industrial Skill Development Program in 3 major skills, which include fashion designing and garment making, information and communication technology, ICT, and cosmetology. The Director General Industrial Training Fund, Joseph Ari, represented, said the intention is to expose the youth to various intervention training programs for self-reliance.
We have this kind of inclusiveness in whatever training we're doing, so that some people will not be at advantage and others disadvantage.
You're talking about skills acquisition. That is the universal currency for anybody to be developed.
Presenting the starter pack to each of the trainees, Ogun State Deputy Governor Noimo Salako Oyedele says the state government is collaborating with the federal government and other well-meaning Nigerians in taking more youth in the state out of poverty.
The state government is also sponsoring entrepreneurial projects, and also we work with the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment and help young people create their own MSMEs.
Some of the beneficiaries commended the federal government, promising to make judicious use of the starter pack in building future for themselves.
I discovered how creative I can be when it comes to fashion designing.
ITF says it will continue to generate more trained indigenous manpower to meet the needs of private and public sectors of the economy. In Abeokuta, Yemi Dalemo, NTA News.
And talking business news, entrepreneurs advocate efficient use of federal government grants by beneficiaries. We have more on this on Business News.
With more businesses and startups in Nigeria accessing special intervention grants from the federal government, particularly the ongoing MSME Survive Funds, Not less than 1.3 million jobs across the country will be supported. Applauding the scheme, which will impact more than 35,000 individuals per state, some entrepreneurs encourage the beneficiaries to build capacity by taking advantage of social media to boost their sales.
You don't know how many people you are reaching at the same time, and that is very good for business. For instance, if you have a store at a location in Nigeria now, you can only reach so many people in probably Abuja, and but online, people from everywhere in the world can reach you. You have the capacity to reach at least 7 billion people.
Think sustainability, think of how you're going to survive in the market, either local or international.
The continuous MSME Survivor Funds payroll support track will be given to qualified MSME as direct cash injection into their enterprise. With Business News, Comfort and Modu.
Improved security, inclusive policy formulation and decision-making formed the focus of the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives Week as the association flagged off the 2021 International Nurses Week in Abuja. Uche Ugochukwu reports that the week is observed yearly from the 6th to 12th of May.
Nurses, described as the bedrock of health sector, constitute over 50% of the healthcare workforce. The celebration, therefore, is an acknowledgement of their enormous contributions to nation building. The 2021 theme, Nurse, a voice to lead, a vision to future healthcare, brings to bear the role nurses play in tackling healthcare emergencies.
So being a voice to lead implies focusing on the need for nurses to become more active and more vocal in policy development and implementation.
These influential healthcare agents are faced with overwhelming workload against the WHO standard, poor working conditions, and most worrisome, recent abductions. These have forced some of them to leave the country for greener pastures.
We are not motivated that we call on government to intervene and see how they can give the nurses and midwives of Nigeria a special salary package.
We are hoping that the government, our government, will play a role to see how we can be properly remunerated.
Propelled by the desire to attain international best practices, Nigerian nurses are set to embrace the emerging technologies in healthcare delivery, starting with digital licensing by the third quarter of 2021. Uche Ugochukwu, NTA News.
And talking politics, the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC has upgraded existing 1,235 polling units in Imo State. The resident electoral commissioner, Professor Francis Ezeonu, says the exercise is aimed at expanding voters' access to polling units as required by law. Faith Iguilo has details.
Conversion of the existing 3,524 polling units in Imo State is part of the effort by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to ensure that voters in Imo State avail themselves of the opportunity of exercising their franchise without difficulty. According to the resident electoral commissioner, Professor Francis Ezeonu, the upgrade now brings the total number of polling units to 4,754. While addressing newsmen at a breakfast meeting in Owerri, Professor Ezeonu says the commission took painstaking effort to ensure equity in determining the new polling units, assuring that with the new arrangement, voters can now exercise their rights with ease.
Over the years, there have been attempts by the commission to create additional polling units to cater to the interest of new settlements and areas with unmanageable voter population. In each of these attempts, the intention of the commission was politicized by stakeholders, misunderstood by the public, and largely criticized by the press, based on considerations extraneous to the core reason for creating polling units.
He further explains that the upgrade took into cognizance the interests of persons with disabilities in order to ensure their safety at polling units during elections. With this advancement, indigents and residents of Imo State can now look forward to quality access to electoral services. Inowere Faith Ibilo, NTA News.
Another break.
All our social media platforms: Facebook at NTA Network News, Instagram at NTA Network, Twitter at NTA News Now, YouTube at NTA News Online. All visit www.nta.ng. For live streaming, visit www.nta.ng/live. Now, you can stay updated on the go, be it on your TV, iPhone, laptop, or iPad, or download the NTA mobile application from your Play Store or App Store. NTA, you can beat the rich.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Grief is basically how somebody reacts over time, over the loss of someone.
So the reaction of loss is actually what brings about grieving.
So it's more intense for some people, it takes longer, it's more severe with some people.
It might be persons, it might be valuable items, it might be things we hold in esteem, it might be physical or abstract things, but people actually grieve because of certain connections and emotions that have been built over time. And
if I lose something dear to me, it can be as simple as my pen, it can be something bigger, let's say a company. So that can also cause people to grieve.
I've grieved before, and it was sometime early last year, and it was over my eldest sibling, and actually my closest sibling. So it wasn't easy actually.
I first lost my computer, my Mac. I grieved for a while because I was so attached to it. It was my workplace, it was my it was what I used for entertainment. I was so attached to it that I did not even realize till after I lost it.
The lessons from grieving actually is that anything that is loved can actually be lost. So while loving, we should also have an open-mindedness that someday, sometime, what we're actually loving and what we actually have emotional connection to might be no more tomorrow. What then do we do? If not to move forward.
My dad called to tell me that my granddad has passed on. For a moment, for quite a while, I was down, I was sober, and I kept having reflections and I kept thinking a lot about him after he has passed on, and I kept getting flashbacks of the time we spent together, the things we did together, how I visited him, and almost everything. And for some time, I would say I grieved and I felt sad, and my body generally reacted to the loss of my granddad. But over time, it fades away.
I think managing grief, first and foremost, you should react the way it comes to you. If you want to cry, cry. I think it's good, it's healthy. If grieving brings you laughter, you laugh it out. Just be whatever it is. Just act whatever it is that the grieving comes to you. But most importantly, you have to tell yourself that this is your current reality and there's actually nothing you can do about to change it other than to look for ways to move forward. I think that can help a lot while grieving, facing your reality, knowing what it is.
So talking to somebody about it helps me a lot, and I would advise anybody listening to me, if you are grieving over anything, try to share it with somebody that is close to you. That could help, because the problem shared is a problem solved.
Thank you so much for tuning in. This is another episode of Emotions with Omenesa. Thank you so much for tuning in. You make me who I am, and I am so grateful. So, what's this show about? This show is pretty much an encouragement to you to be in control of your emotions. Otherwise, your emotions will be in control of you. And if you find yourself in a situation where your emotions are in control of you, then probably you're doing something wrong. Yeah, something is off somewhere. So that's what this show is about. It's to pick you up, and it's to encourage you, and it's to take you right back to where you used to be, which is to tell you that you are stronger than you think you are wiser than you think you are stronger than that situation, and you are in control. That situation is not in control of you. So what I love about this show is that I get to talk about everything. I love talking. So on this show, I get to talk about everything. I get to talk about low self-esteem. I get to talk about incest. I get to talk about things that people just don't want to talk about. I get to talk about abortions. Yes. I get to talk about prostitution. I get to talk about lying, stealing, cheating. I get to talk about those dark secrets that nobody wants to talk about, but guess what? It's an issue in our lives, and we have to take care of it. So here I am. Now, the topic for today is on grieving. And you would say, oh my God, why is she so bright when she's talking about grieving? As I am recording this show right now, I am actually grieving. And psychologists say that it takes 1 year to fully grieve, 365 days to fully grieve. I would say that I am 2 months and a half to my grieving process since I lost my mother. And so I want to talk about grieving because a lot of people don't know how to handle grieving. A lot of people do not know what to do when you're grieving. A lot of people are very confused if they find out that they are not grieving. A lot of people are angry when people tell them that they are not grieving. First of all, what is grief? Okay, from my standpoint, in the context of where I am right now in my life, I am grieving the death, the physical death of my mother. She passed away. Okay, but grieving could also be mourning a relationship, or mourning a job, or mourning the fact that your child has gone haywire. Your child is no longer making good grades, or mourning maybe you've worked a job for 15 years and now you are retired. So you're mourning that season. Okay, so basically mourning and grief is loss. It's a loss of something or someone. And anybody who has lost something or someone, you would know how painful it feels right here in the middle of your chest. It just hurts. So my topic is on grieving. So grieving is the process of grief. Grieving is what's going on when you are in pain, when you are in grief. When grief, when death, when turmoil has come upon you, when loss has come upon you, that's what grieving is. Okay? So grief is a very, very serious thing, and it's a very, very painful thing. So there's so many angles to grieving. So this show, on this episode, I am going to give you the highlights about how I got here in the first place, which is grieving, and how I have been coping with grieving. When you are in a place of bereavement, you would have to accept why you are in bereavement. So, for me, when my mother was dying, like, it wasn't an accident that took my mother. It was an illness. And it was something that the whole family, everybody, church members, we all knew. And some of us got the opportunity, me and my dad and my aunt and her nurse and my cousin and her sister, we got the opportunity of being up close. So we saw the process of it happening. And even though we were looking at it, we saw the doctor's report, we saw what was going on, it was very hard for us to accept when it happened. So when you are grieving, the best way to cope, the first tip of coping with grief or coping with loss is to accept that it has happened. Accept that you're no longer in that relationship. Accept that that man has walked out of your life. Accept that you have had a divorce. Accept that you have lost that job. Accept that your father has died. Accept that your mother has died. Accept that you no longer work in that place. Accept that a death has occurred. So that was the first tip for me. When I was crying, breaking my head on the wall, and I was rolling on the floor, and I was just so despondent, I remembered, you know what? This thing has happened. It has happened. My mom is gone. You would never see her again. And I know that everybody says, oh my God, or you're going to see them in heaven, or they're going to be in heaven. And yes, but even when you're in heaven, things are not the same anymore. Like, she's not your mom. So I also had to stop that fantasy of, okay, well, when we all get to heaven, then I'll see you in heaven and we could be like how we used to be. You know, she could wear my Ankaras. She could give me advice. No. The role of a mother in my life is dead and it's gone. So the first tip is you accept. You accept that you have moved out of your city and you are now in a new city. You accept that your parents are not there anymore. You accept that your siblings are not there. You accept that you are alone. You accept that a loss has occurred in your life. You accept where you are. So my first tip, I have accepted that I am motherless. I do not have a mother. And even though church members and everybody and my aunt and everyone could, you know, oh, I'm your mother now and I could be in your life now and, you know, all of that, I can compensate. That's all it is. It's a compensation. It's making do. It's filling a gap. But it's not the real person. It's not the real gap. It's not the real filling up of a void. Accept that you have lost that thing. The moment that I accepted that my mom was gone, even when I was looking at her, when she had gone, when I put her in the ground, when all the family members were there, when we saw the casket, when we saw her corpse, when we saw she was so beautiful. Woo! She was gorgeous. She was just gorgeous in that casket. But it was still a casket. It was still a casket. It was still a coffin. So accept that that loss has come upon you. Second tip, excuse me, I feel like crying. Second tip to coping with grief is you ask yourself, what now? Where do I go from here now? Because suddenly you now know that you too can die. You know that death exists. I used to hear the word death for 3 decades of my life, but it never sunk in till my mother died. When she died, I knew that death existed. And I knew that one day I will die. I knew that one day my father will die. One day, somebody close to me will die. One day my friends will die. People I look up to will die, obviously, because they're older than me. And the ultimate, I will die one day. So after you accept that loss has occurred in your life, it's now time for you to accept that one day you are going to die. So what are you going to do with the time that you have? Are you going to be gossiping about people all day? Be getting angry that you're in your situation? Be getting angry that that loss occurred? What about the gains? Because there are gains. My mother left me with a lot of advice. She left me with advice on how to run my marriage. She left me with advice on how to run my organization called Pearls International. She left me with advice on how to even run my business. She left me with advice on how to run the ministry. She left me with a lot. And the things that she didn't get to do, guess what? I may have to do them. And I say may because I also have an assignment. Okay? And I have another tip that I will come up about that, which is because like sometimes like when people die, we feel the need to have to complete what they started. It's okay to do both at the same time, which is your assignment and their assignment, but the ultimate is yours because God is going to ask you about that. I have a whole lot to say about grieving. I am going to take a break. I'm probably going to cry a little bit, and then I'm going to come back and we'll continue. We've been talking about grieving, and I told you that I am 2 months and a half to just losing my mother. And I was telling you that grieving and grief and bereavement is not just about losing a person. It could also be about losing something that mattered to you. It could be about losing a relationship. It could be about losing a job. But this particular show, though, is about the tips on how to cope. How to cope when you have lost something so dear and someone so dear to you. And I talked about when I lost my mom, we were all in denial. We were in so much pain. But my first tip to coping was I had to accept that it had happened. I had to accept that I would never see her again. And I gave an example of even though we are going to see our loved ones in heaven again, it's not the same thing. They're not going to be cooking for you and be giving you advice. You're already in heaven, like everything is perfect already. But you have lost that person in your life. You have lost that role in your life, and you have to accept it. You have to accept it, and you can't go out trying to make people fill up that void. That's not a good thing. It's not a good thing, and I'll get to that point. So, number one, you accept that. Number two, what remains? Because now you realize that someone very close to you has died, right? So I had to ask myself, as my second tip was, one day I will die as well. You have to use whatever remains to keep going. And for me, it was the advice of my mom. And for me, it's a lot of things that remain. I still have my years before me. I still have my dreams. I don't have a mother. I am motherless. I don't have a mother. But I have my father. I have my husband. I have my ministry. I have my business. So second point is one day you too will die. So get going. Do the things that you need to do. Number three, another way to cope and deal with grief is to nurture the people that are still here. For me, is my dad. It's been very, very hard for me to look at my dad without seeing my mother. So sometimes I run away from him because looking at him is also seeing my mom as well. And then it also dawns on me that, whoa, like one day I'm going to lose him too. So for a very, very long time, in my process of grieving, I was actually looking at the negative side about him being here, which is, oh my God, like I'm just looking at him and he reminds me of mom, and oh my God, oh, he's going to leave. Oh, one day, oh, he's going to leave. But I had to start focusing on, wow, he's here. And I thank God that I'm not fatherless. I am motherless, but I'm not fatherless. I thank God that when I finish this show, I'm going to go back to him and I'm going to show him the pictures and the clips, and he's going to be, I'm very proud of you. Now, it could have been a situation where mom is not here and dad is not here. And nobody would have been here to be proud of me. Well, I'm sure that you would have been proud of me, but it's very different when a parent is not present. So I thank God that my dad is here. So another way to cope with grief is to thank God for what remains. So you may have lost your job, or you may be in a new city. It's a new opportunity, basically. It's a new opportunity. My mother's funeral, I got to meet people that I hadn't met in years, and I got to meet people that I had never met, and I got to meet very, very lasting relationships. I got an opportunity to be blessed by people calling me every day and encouraging me. Now you may say, okay, well, if she didn't die, like they wouldn't have been encouraging you. Yes, but I also got to know the true colors of people. Woo! I got to know the blue, black, gray. I got to know the white side of people, the black side of people. And I got to know that there are certain people that you just don't even talk to. Just like, you just don't even read their name. on anything. So death teaches you a lot of things, and it gives an opportunity to really, really know who people are. Okay, so you can also gain too, while you're grieving. Look at their pictures. Look at your loved ones' pictures. That's another way to cope, is to look at their pictures. Don't run away from it. There was a certain song that my mother liked when she was ill, and I played it for her all the time. When she passed away, I just couldn't listen to that song. I would just, I would just bawl out in tears. But of recent, I play that song, I listen to it, and I smile. And I pushed myself out of the painful grieving process. And now when I cry, it's not painful because I made a decision that I was going to live and not drown in this pain. Because if you've ever lost a parent or lost a spouse or lost someone very close to you, you can testify that that pain is right here. That pain is like someone just took a knife and just tore you up into pieces. It's traumatizing and it's very, very painful. Very painful. But it's something that you have to live with. And I tell you, it can be less painful. When you confront it, it becomes less painful. Less painful. I've started to listen to the songs that she used to listen to, and I've been looking at her pictures, and I talk about her a lot. I drive people around me crazy. Oh, when my mother was here, this is what she would have said. Or, oh, my mother liked that color. Oh, my mother this and my mother that. People are going crazy around me because I'm always talking about my mother, but it makes me feel better. It makes me feel better. I'm not running away from it. Another way to cope is stay away from triggers. Stay away from people who are just negative. Absolutely negative, because what just happened to you, the loss that you're dealing with right now is negative. It is a negative thing. There is a negative connotation to loss. Another tip, stop crying. Stop crying. Go ahead and cry when you need to, but don't cry all the time. Brace yourself. Try to look at her pictures or his pictures, and think of the good memories. And if you cry, let it be tears of joy. I was just about to say cries of joy. Let it be tears of joy, like, whoa, oh, she was such a good person. She was such a giver. She was this and she was that. Rather than, oh my God, oh, they're gone. They're just gone. They're never coming back. Oh my God. I did that. In the first month, I was a wreck. I was a wreck. I was messed up. I was really messed up. But now when I think about her, I have tears of joy, and I reach out for all the positive things that she did. And I also try to learn from her. First of all, that life is very, very short, but man, she loved God. She loved God. So now I try to be closer to God. Now I try to pray as much as she did. And I find myself doing a lot of things that she used to do. I find my gestures and certain things that I say, and it just reminds me of her, And if you're like me, if you find yourself in that moment where you are grieving and you just find yourself acting like your lost one, smile. It's nothing to cry about. It's actually a privilege. There are so many tips to grieving, but the first tip is to accept it. Accept that it has happened. Accept that the grief is real. It's not an illusion. You are not delusional. It is not a mirage. It is real. It happened. Learn from it. Grow from it. Stay away from negativity. Feed yourself. Oh, one last thing. I remember when Mom died, people were bringing food. I said, why are they bringing food? I never lost anybody before, so I didn't understand. People that I had lost were people who were more distant, but I had never lost a parent. I didn't understand why they were bringing food. And one woman said, you will need it because you'll be very weak. I thought that she was being pessimistic. Whoa, grief makes you tired, makes you dizzy, makes you sleepy. It just makes you tired. So another tip for you is take care of yourself. Make sure you're eating. Even when you don't feel like eating, eat. Make sure that you're sleeping. Make sure that you are resting. make sure that you are taking care of yourself. For me, days I didn't take a shower. I was just in pain. Make sure that you take a shower, okay? Stay away from from negativity. Stay away from it. Continue to love your loved one. Continue to love them even though they have died. Continue to love them. Keep them alive by making the right decisions in your own life. Because one day somebody will also be in bereavement for you. So number your days. Number your days real good. Life is very, very, very short. God bless you.
You will have to jump off a cliff just knowing that you will not crash. If you're not in control of your emotions will be in control of you.
Discover Kano, an ancient city with unrivaled cultural magnificence. Located in the northwestern part of Nigeria, Kano is a highly populated city with a long cultural history dating back to the 7th century. When you step into the city, you will discover the tenacious farmers producing various crops like millet, rice, cassava, sweet potatoes, and many more. You will experience the culture and traditions of the beautiful people of Kano. The Hawa Doshe Durbar is a major cultural festival in northern Nigeria. It is the largest procession of colorful horses in the world. This is a tradition that has been practiced for over 500 years, since the 14th century. The Durbar is celebrated at a culmination of Muslim festivals.
The Durbar festival was very, very impressive and a lot of impressions, and I don't even know which costume was most impressive or which LGA was most impressive, because they were all very, very beautiful, and it was a nice adventure, and I can't even cope with all the impressions at the moment.
A royal parade takes place on this day by thousands of men, including the emir, on horses adorned in attractive garments and regalia. This celebration is a colorful display of culture, full of pomp and pageantry.
Celebrations in this year is very important in that to entertain the people's mind.
It's very different from what I experienced before, and I think I still have to sleep over to process everything what I saw, because it was a lot. It was very emotional.
A visit to Kano is incomplete without enjoying a visit to the palace of the emir. The emir's palace is known as a settlement within a settlement, which provides an insight into the typical Hausa architectural design that has been in existence for over 500 years. Another famous attraction in the beautiful city of Kano is the Gidan Makama Museum. It is a place known for its traditional architectural excellence. It has superb historical and ethnographic collections on Kanawa civilization, which includes the 15 gates of ancient Kano history, believed to be over 500 years old, and the British cannons from the invasion in 1903. The museum is located opposite the Emir's palace. The Kano Dyeing Pit, also known as the Kofar Matar Dyeing Pit, is one of the most fascinating aspects of the old city. The creative process used by the Kano indigents is an exquisite design on fabrics in the dyeing pits, and it is unmatched around the world. Although the methods they used are ancient, the lush works of art on fabric always remains extremely popular and continues to be in great demand. We move to the Minjibir Weaving Center, a center where the ancient weaving industry still thrives. Walking through this typical African village, you can watch the experienced local weavers at their daily work. The muddy hills of Kano, popularly known as Dala and Goron Dutse Hills. The two hills provide full view of the horizon around the state capital from their tops. Visitors often climb the hills for what may be described as the aerial view of Kano City. A city with captivating cultural history, magnificent architecture, strong art of salesmanship and trade. Explore Kano for an adventure of a lifetime. Kano, the center of commerce.
Issues in the sports sector remain one of the most debated among Nigerians due to the passion, followership, government involvement, impact on Nigeria. Sports Parliament, a unique platform for sports discussions, showing live on the NTA. Keep a date with the parliamentarians.
The eyes have it.
Hello, here is an update of the news at 11. I am Nolin Ebel Ame. As Muslims in Nigeria join others globally in preparations towards Eid al-Fitr, a day that is celebrated to mark the end of Ramadan, the month of fasting, President Buhari directs that all celebrations be limited due to the global coronavirus crisis. To this effect, the president forced family, his personal aides, members of cabinet and service chiefs who choose to remain in Abuja will congregate in full compliance with COVID-19 protocols at the forecourt of the presidential villa to observe the Eid prayers. Time fixed for the prayer is 9 a.m. Thereafter, there will be no traditional Salah homage to the president by religious community and political leaders, as was the case last year. The president encourages such leaders to be content with modest celebrations at home in view of the pandemic. President Buhari specially thanked the ulama, Islamic clerics, and all other religious Muslim Christian leaders who continue to pray for the well-being of the nation and its people. The president, in addition, takes this opportunity to condole with all who lost family members due to what he described as the madness going on in parts of the country. The president calls on all local leaders to talk to their youths and warn them against being used to incite and foment violence. If we attack institutions guarding us, the president wonders who will protect us in future emergencies. 37 new COVID-19 infections have been recorded in Nigeria within the last 24 hours, bringing the country's total confirmed cases to 165,419. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, indicates that among the 37 cases, Yobe recorded 13 cases, Lagos 12, Akwa Ibom 6, FCT 3, while Kaduna, Edo, and Ogun recorded just a case each. NCDC records show that active cases nationwide remain at 7,052. Total discharged cases so far are 156,297, while the death toll is now 2,065. And that concludes the update at 11. Another update comes your way at 1 p.m. Thank you for watching.
is the network service of the NTA.
Hello, this is Property and Style, your one-stop shop on everything real estate. Property and Style is a program that has been designed to ensure that you're enlightened and empowered in everything that has to do with the built environment. It is coming to you from the network service of the NTA. My name is Patience Eloyi Abbas. Thank you for keeping the date with us.
NTA Properties Investment Company Limited, a subsidiary of the Nigerian Television Authority, specializes in creating comfort in all areas of life, such as real estate investments, that is, land, houses, and office spaces, mass leasing, savings and loan scheme, and so much more. Other information and entertainment services include Property and Style, a TV program that airs on the network service of the NTA, and also Property Connect, a nationwide magazine. Our priority is to bridge poverty gaps and sustain quality welfare of our clients. Partner with us and watch us help you grow. Pay us a visit today at the NTA headquarters permanent site, Area 11 Gariki, Abuja, or our Lagos office at number 15 Awolowo Road, Ikoyi, Lagos. For more information, visit our website on www.ntaproperties.com.ng, or you can email us on ntap2000@yahoo.com. Call us on 080-6641-7900. NTA Properties Investment Company Limited, the much needed help at your doorstep.
Welcome back. On today's episode of Property and Style, we'll be bringing you a very special event. Like I always say, if your event is special, it should be on Property and Style. Now, this event is a housing conference, a very crucial and important conference that will indeed play a vital role in the housing subsector. Property and Style was there, and we bring you all our special regulars. Once again, I'm delighted you're here.